Good morning, everybody. Oi, is your speaker okay? Okay, great stuff. So, as already introduced, my name is Andile. I'll be hosting this panel. I've worked with most of the people on this panel. I've seen them present, and I've had the pleasure of judging them as previous winners, whether in category or overall. And the real purpose of this next panel is for us to, I guess, get into the brains and the hearts, because some of the winning apps are a bit of a labor of love, and not necessarily a commercial venture. And thank goodness the labor of love turned out to be at least good enough to pay for its costs while it serves the love. So I do know that many of you out there are business people, quite commercially minded, but also many of you guys out there are artists. You're passionate about your craft. I heard from the gentleman who's into fashion, and I know that whilst that's a business, it's also quite a big passion. And the world of applications have taken over our lives, as we all know. I've got a few favorite ones on my phone, and every couple of months I have one new favorite one. But we're going to get into the brains of the people that created award-winning applications, and we're going to find out how they did that, what are some of the processes they went through, and what is it that we can all learn from them. We're going to keep the conversation pretty open. I'll chat to obviously all the gentlemen one by one, and then I'll open the floor, and I really encourage you to pose more and more questions, particularly if you've tried some of their apps. Some have already created apps in what is already a competitive industry. Some created apps and other people came into their industries. So we're also going to talk a little bit about competition and shall we call it mimicking, that typically happens when one app or another becomes more successful. Here on the panel with me, 4 gentlemen that have been very successful in creating these apps. On my left is Simon from Wumdrop. Also have Berno from Domesly, and Craig from Snoozer, and then also Glenn Gillis from the Pick n Pay Super Animals app. Gentlemen, we're going to go around kind of the panel and just introduce yourselves, but more importantly, the application, what it actually does, what's the journey been like, how did the idea even come to you, how much money you've spent in building it, how much you haven't recovered. I'm joking. How much you've, to what extent has it been successful commercially, and just some of your lessons. So for a couple of minutes, just let us into your world of Wumdrop. Simon, let me start with you.
Thank you, Andile. That could be a long story. I founded Wumdrop in 2014. It's a last mile delivery platform, is the very short answer. But what the mission is that we actually try to remove anxiety from a delivery for people who send stuff, for people who receive stuff, and for people who actually do the driving in that process. And I have a tattoo of a grilled cheese sandwich on my arm here. It's because we started selling nappies. That sentence will make sense in a second. So I hated my job in 2014, and no disrespect to my boss, if anyone knows him, but I just hated my job in 2014. So I didn't smoke, but I started taking cigarette breaks. So I'd go hang out on the balcony with the smokers. And a guy who I knew from university, I studied TV script writing. This is a lot of information, I know. I studied TV script writing. I knew him from university. We were both at media companies, because that's the only kind of job you can get if you study TV script writing at UCT. And he was a smoker. Anyway, so I bump into him for the first time in a couple of years, and it turns out he also hates his job, right? So we go, let's start a business together. So at the start of the story, I should say that I cannot overstate the level of ignorance and naivety that went into the founding of this business. We didn't know what we were going to start. We figured that if you've got a TV script writing degree, the one business thing that you're able to do is pitch, because you can write Breaking Bad, but if you can't pitch the thing, it's never going to get made. So we could at least pitch. So we figured we could sell to some extent. So we'd sell something. So Roy, my business partner's name, goes, let's sell coffins.
Coffins, as in the thing that dead people go into.
Correct. Yeah, like an envelope for dead people.
I like that, envelope for dead people.
So he has a couple of cigarettes, and we figure that's a little bit depressing. So let's go to the other end of the circle of life and let's sell nappies. The reason why we considered these two products is because we knew that we knew nothing, and we fully expected this venture to fail pretty quickly. And we wanted it to fail quickly, but we wanted to have as few variables to consider in the failure as possible, because we didn't have time for a BCom. We didn't when we were 19. We certainly don't have time now when we're 23. Because, we've got stuff to do, super busy 23-year-olds. So we go, cool, let's sell nappies. So we do. At the time, Takealot was trying to kill Kalahari, which of course they did.
Yes.
And they were doing that by selling nappies extremely cheaply. They were making a loss on them, but they were also selling the baby DVDs and books that Kalahari was trying to sell.
Ah, I see.
Right?
So you bought the nappies, but you also got the other stuff.
So because we didn't have money to either rent a store or to buy stock from Procter & Gamble or Kimberly-Clark, we bought from Takealot. And we had it delivered to our office. And then we would repackage it, and then we would deliver it to people. And but we were delivering it on a scheduled basis. And that was because we didn't have money. So we were delivering on a scheduled basis that we could plan our days, but we were selling it like you get to choose the hour that you get the package, right?
Wow.
And you can do anything like that if you have no scale. You can be the best service in the world if you're servicing 10 people, which we were. So we gave great service. And our great service meant that our business grew to about 100 people, and we couldn't do the deliveries in our Ford Fiesta and Ford Figo respectively anymore. So we had to outsource to the usual suspects like Dawnwing, Courier, the Courier guy, Aramex. And for the first week, the client person, you'd go, look, when you deliver to Andile, you have to text him because he lives in a very trendy part of Woodstock and they don't have doorbells there. So you have to text him. And also, even when they do get doorbells, you still have to text him because his baby isn't used to the sound of a doorbell, and you'll wake the baby up. And then Andile won't buy from us anymore.
Yeah. And we can't lose Andile.
We can't lose Andile. So they'd go, cool, we totally get it, we understand. And we'll deliver at the particular hour that your customers are used to, not like this 9 to 5 nonsense. And they go, cool, we get it. And then after about a week, you'd fall into their giant trough of customers. And they would deliver between 9 and 5, and Andile would get a doorbell, and they'd ring the doorbell. And then you'd leave because it's less painful for you literally to go to Baby City with your baby crying and get a wider range of stuff than to have to go through that process. Anyway, we weren't getting why people were leaving. We just figured that it was a bad story. How much time do I have, by the way?
Keep going.
Glenn's like, go, more.
We are latching onto every word.
Yeah, it could. So we were losing customers. We were losing about 3 a week. When you have 100, that's a hell of a big portion of your customer base. So the one good thing that I did do at my job, which I didn't hate, was there was a fishing trawler that ground up on Clifton First Beach in 2013-ish. It was called the Aihatsu Maru. And at this media company that I worked at, one of our clients was Butler's Pizza. So a lot of Cape Townians know Butler's Pizza. And we had an idea for a stunt for them that we would deliver some pizza to the ship because they were in the water illegally, and it wasn't really the crew's fault, it was the evil corporation that put them in the water to fish illegally. So they're stuck on the beach and they can't get off because there's no visa. So, we feel bad for them. Also, there's a dog on board. Internet loves dogs. So we'll deliver pizza and a dog bone.
Forget the people on board, but the dog.
The dog is the important bit, yeah. So we'll deliver pizza and a dog bone to the ship, right? Because the guys have probably been eating tinned food for a couple of days. So we do, and I was project managing that, and I got a film crew, and I got some Butler's guys, and we ran across the police lines in the morning with 3 signs that were printed in Thai and Japanese and Cantonese saying, we have pizza. And they lowered down a rope ladder, and the Butler's dudes waded into the ocean, and they delivered pizza to a ship from a beach, which hadn't been salvaged yet. And we videoed that, and by local internet standards, it did very well and got some good coverage. So Rob Wilkinson, the big cheeser is his title at Butler's Pizza, liked me for that. So I went to Rob and said, how's it? I deliver nappies now.
And I see a correlation between nappies and pizza.
Well, he has a bunch of students who deliver pizza for him, right? Some people here may have been butlers in their time. And they provide their own cars, and he pays them per delivery and with tips. So I went to him and I said, how do you corral this group of students to work for you? Because currently I'm only delivering locally, and Dawnwing is cocking it up. So I would like students to deliver my nappies for me. I promise I won't dilute your driver pool or anything because, there's no crossover time and whatnot. Anyway, he was very generous, and he gave me his day, and he told me how to spin up a local delivery network with people who provide their own vehicles. So that was awesome. But as I was leaving, He said, one of my biggest pain points is that I've got these different branches in Cape Town. I've got one in Claremont, I've got one in town, I've got et cetera. And when Claremont is really busy and town is not, I have to pick up a phone, or my managers have to pick up a phone to get drivers from town to Claremont. And if that person who's supposed to be going there doesn't pick up the phone because they can play music or their girlfriend can be in the front seat or whatever the case might be, then I'm understaffed in one area and overcapacity in another, because my business operates off code that I wrote in 1989. And he said, this is now the end of 2013, this conversation is happening. He says, there's this new business that's just launched in the local market. It's pretty small still, you might know it, it's called Uber. Anyway, they geolocate their drivers to tasks based on where the driver is and where the task is automatically, so it scales. And you should remember that for your business, because if your business ever grows, you're going to have the same pain as me. So I said, cool, I'll remember that. And I left the meeting and I didn't remember that. Fast forward a few weeks, we start going to people and telling them we've got our own delivery network now, and people start coming back and we say, why did you leave in the first place? And they said, because it sucked. When you were delivering between 9 and 5 and you weren't following instructions, it sucked. And before that, it was great, because all the anxiety from the delivery was gone, because we knew when you were coming, we knew we'd follow instructions, and we could plan our day against that. And that kind of blew our minds. So we'd go around to the Woodstock Exchange, which is where we were, and we'd tell people that this is how we do deliveries now, and we'd go, and that's why you should buy nappies from us. And the guy would go, dude, I'm 55. Like, my son's your age. I don't need to buy nappies. But I do have these leather laptop sleeves, or this fish, or whatever the case might be, that needs delivering kind of once weekly. Do you want to do that? And remember, our reason for starting this thing was we had our jobs and we should start a business. So we went, okay. And within short order, we were making more money from doing deliveries for other people instead of ourselves. And we realized that there might be an opportunity here for a kind of a generic third-party delivery business that's local, that is good at communicating, that's good at removing anxiety from the delivery process for people. So Roy went smoking again.
Cigarettes, I hope.
Yeah. Although don't be judgmental, Andile.
Sorry.
Roy went smoking again, and there was a developer garage on the 4th floor of the Woodstock Exchange. And we would just like talk about our idea and the need for geolocation to scale this delivery thing. And there was a guy working on a mapping solution there, Wilson, a developer, who was also smoking. And he heard the conversation, and that's when we hooked him in. And we gave him a small portion of the business, and we paid him very badly for a long time. But he really liked the idea, and he felt ownership for it. And he was our first developer, and he's our lead developer. And that became Wumdrop. And the reason why I have a grilled cheese sandwich on my arm is because we didn't have time either for a BCom, and we certainly didn't have time for a logistics degree. So we spun up a business that couldn't damage our little baby business, called the Grilled Cheese Club, and people could tweet us for a grilled cheese sandwich, and we'd have to deliver it on demand. And the reason why we did that is because we had heretofore delivered something that couldn't be damaged, nappies, right? Even though they're bulky. We wanted something that would really test our ability to, and our systems, to deliver very quickly. And a grilled cheese sandwich is a great indicator of that, because if you screw that delivery up, then the cheese is hard and the bread is soggy. You know, the proof is in the savory pudding. And we set ourselves a mission to do 1,000 of those each. And that's what we did. And then that became Wumdrop. And we figured the gap was in retail, because that's where the volume is, and there's very little margin in delivery, so you need lots of volume. So we built an API, and we plugged into a few retailers. We got Zando first, then the Fashini Group. And then we won MTN App of the Year overall in late 2015, and then about a year and a bit later, Massmart made an offer to acquire our business, 53%. So they bought 53% of the business in February 2017, and we're still available to the market, but we execute for MDD, for Macro, and Mass Cash.
Wow, I think a round of applause is necessary. How did you fund it all? Because I guess that's the big question, right? You were broke. You guys had a vague idea of a business, but it needed to be funded somehow.
So yeah, so that sounds cool, all of that, but the number of 50-50 decisions that we made where left would have been death and right was life, and we just kind of flipped a coin and took right. There were 4 or 5 of those, including who to take money from, how much, and when we should raise money.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I have a blueprint for raising money. Suffice to say, don't borrow any money from your father-in-law. It's a bad idea. Rather close. South African angel investors will habitually offer you less money than you need without understanding that they're throwing their money away. They would rather offer you 50 grand than consider the fact that 50 grand's not enough. So don't take 50 grand. Raise much more money than you need. Much more. And thirdly, especially if you're building in a new space, you probably don't even know how much you need. You need to do, if you're going to do financial modeling, you honestly need to start with what you want your vision to do and do a expense-based bottom-up kind of financial modeling, not a top-down, because that's the tradition. Traditional is top-down. That makes sense to investors. When you go, what is the expense base? How do we mitigate it? How much money do you need over time? That'll lead to your financial ruin because you'll spend more money because you're building something new that you don't understand.
All right. Let's move on to something slightly different. Please pass the microphone all the way to the end to Glenn. Glenn, you need to tell us the story of, I remember the first time I saw your app, Pick and Pay Super Animals. I thought to myself, now here's something interesting, until I tried it for myself. And I felt, you know when you're old and you're feeling entertained by something that's meant for kids, and you have that feeling of guilt that you're actually enjoying it? That's exactly how I felt about this. Tell us about the app.
Thanks very much. My name is Glenn Gillis. I'm the CEO of Sea Monster. We're a serious animation gaming company, augmented reality company. We've been doing this for coming up to 7 years now. We've been, I don't believe in B2C models, generally speaking, in South Africa. I think they are rolls of the dice, and I think, frankly, your odds are better at the casino, and the returns are higher. But don't let me tread on your dreams. That said, yeah.
You're on your own, basically.
Yeah. But what I do know is that there's massive potential that is unlocked when it comes to a strategic approach to how apps can truly add value. And I think it was your intro and a lot of what the previous speakers have been resonating. So our business is focused on big problems at big corporates. We're very expensive, except compared to all your alternatives. So if you want to engage with tens of thousands of people and you want to do that in a deep, meaningful, and interactive way, then games and animation are the way to do that. If you'd like to do PowerPoint presentations face-to-face, then don't phone me. So we've been after Pick and Pay forever. We spent a lot of time getting to know their business, understanding their levers. As Simon is saying, retail is dangerous and dirty business. It's tough, margins are tight, and you really need to know your stuff. So great, let's run directly towards the scene of the accident, because if we can make it work there, we can pretty much make it work everywhere. And really the insight in our business is that loyalty schemes are broken. And it's really complicated. You must write this down now, please. This is a big thing, Andile. Make a note there. But
I will.
Yeah. It says loyalty is earned.
Loyalty is earned.
Not bought.
Not bought.
Yeah.
Okay.
Therefore, every loyalty scheme is fundamentally flawed in that way, because I'm going to have to continually buy you bloody beers to be your mate. I mean, like, it's expensive. Sorry. I mean, I know you know. So we're into their loyalty space, and what games do is they are driven by an intrinsic motivation. So gamification, it's common sense applied repeatedly. And what it really means is, if I listen to your cuck and I'm there for you, and that's where we're going to earn trust, and that trusted relationship will express itself as loyalty. So great, and we have really good conversations with Pick and Pay Smart Shopper. Because reasons, okay? So now we're bugging them and we're driving them mad, and one day we get a phone call and they say, listen, top secret, I know you've signed all the NDAs and you're doing stuff, but we've got this new thing that we're going to launch, okay? And it's a card-based collectible. So for those of you who didn't see it, you spend $150 and you get 4 cards. It's owned by a company in Holland called Brand Loyalty. They're the largest player in what's called instant loyalty schemes in the world. Massive company, and basically boring. I mean, essentially it's a collectibles. It's great, it's a very good one, but the mechanic is you put them in a book and you're done. So Pick n Pay said, this is your chance to shine. And we walked in, and they said, "Here's a," and we went in with John Brown, their publishing business, because they're guys who run the Fresh Living magazine. So very good to go in with a trusted partner. And we go in, and they brief us on the world's cuckest game. So I'm like, I tell you, I've got another idea. and
you have to find a way not to really kill this one, because they're clearly excited about this one.
No, that's what I said, is the World Cuckers game. Was that not a good idea? Oh, shit, no, I need to make notes. Okay, no, I'll keep up that. No, and I just said, like, cool, but, and they weren't pitching it to us, but they were exploring ideas. And we had done 7 years ago an augmented reality thing. So we're pretty much in the top of our game globally in AR. I know it sounds like a brag, but we really are. We've done incredible interactive things. We are Facebook's preferred developer for their new AR studio. Blah, 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 blah. Legends in our own lunchtime. And we had done some stuff with Nat Geo, quite National Geographic. Geographic. Sorry. And basically, as we were saying, like, great idea, but what about this? We had essentially done something where animals sort of came alive off the cards. And Georgie, the marketing manager at the time, to her credit, said, "Damn you, I'm about to go into brief exco. Your idea is much better than my idea, and can we develop this thing together? Let's go. How much?" I'm like, "Georgie, that's what's called an idea. Now what we need to do is go away and kind of take from you and, package it all." So she said, "Pick a number." So pick a number. And she goes off, and she phones me a couple of hours later and says, "We're good to go. With half the number that you gave me. But we're going to come up with a plan. So we will own the IP together." I said, "That's great. Actually, it's Brand Loyalty's underlying IP. So I'm not sure, but okay, we'll agree to that." We phone Brand Loyalty, and we tell them we're going to do this amazing app. And they're like, "No, we've tried digital 100 times. We know it's coming, but it's never going to work. You guys agree to whatever it is that you agree to." Anyway, the app is basically, you scan it, it pops into your collection. There are all sorts of facts. The animals pop up. For those who haven't seen it, you can touch them, interact with them. There's a mini game involved. We had the big 5 that were 3D animals. In the second one, we had the springbok and the blue crane, our national animals, sort of coming alive in 3D. In total, we got over 500,000 downloads. I'll say that very slowly for those of you who are unfamiliar with the South African App Store. 500,000. Thank you for the applause.
Yeah, well done.
Okay,
yes,
thank you.
Yes, sure.
Okay, I'll give you another number. We got 970,000 in Poland. Also, thank you. Exactly. Portugal, Spain, Serbia, and other markets. We've broken every single box office record ever set in that category. Thank you. So now here's the funny thing. When we deal mostly directly with companies at a strategic level around gaming and AR and stuff. And often the conversation, particularly, by the way, when the ad agency is in the room, is how many people have got smart devices? How many people will give up their data? Blah, 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 blah. Otherwise known as fighting the last war. Let me just say this again. Here's a 100 meg app that wasn't really promoted. In fact, most of you probably didn't even know that it existed because it wasn't supported above the line. It was people figured it out. Kids found out about it and told each other. You remember that old joke about word of mouth? It's actually a thing. 100 meg app. There was no prize, no discount, nothing to win. It was driven purely by intrinsics. So for the kids, it was creativity, it was curiosity, it was discovery, it was bragging rights, and there were features that were unlocked and nobody did them. 10% of people actually knew that if you completed a category, there was a whole special feature. But you don't tell everybody, because, geez, you want to be that kid that walks onto the playground and says, hang on, here's my, did you see what I've discovered
stage
last
I got
night?
to,
Yeah, it was like, whoa, dude. So kids were delighted, running around, bragging, pestering the hell out of their parents. Parents were delighted because it was good quality screen time, it's augmented reality, it's facts, your kid's actually learning something.
Was Pick n Pay delighted?
Well, shall we say they did Super Animals 2, and shall I say no more at that point.
Right. But fair, square.
Did move the bottom line, and they are quoted in the media as saying quite significantly moved the bottom line. What was interesting then, of course, is after the Pick n Pay success, we got the call from brand loyalty, and we're like, yeah, I remember that IP deal that we did with you. Well, we might need to kind of think about that because all of our retailers around the world are going hysterical. And Pick n Pay, to their credit, were amazing. They said, you guys get out of the way, Sea Monster. We'll negotiate for you because we're basically partners in this. And they were amazing. I mean, they negotiate for a living, and it was just a brilliant thing. So, I can't tell you the specifics of it, but it didn't make us rich. To your point, I still don't think, we're probably broken even on it, to be honest. But it is an absolute case study in what's possible if you recognize that education is a strategic business opportunity.
Right.
And I mean not Achshem CSI money, I mean central and core to your actual business, which is very much the philosophy at Sea Monster. So everything we do has a learning flavor to it. And Super Animals was a great example.
Glenn. A round of applause for Glenn, please. Thank you so much. Very, very different, very different. Let's move on, though, talking about taking care of labors of love, etc. Snoozer, there's an interesting app. Craig, tell us about the journey of the app.
Sure. I think my story is not nearly as entertaining as the last two I've heard, so sorry. I started Snoozer in 2007. I'd spent probably about 5 years before that doing all the research and development. Snoozer is it's a physical product. There was no app and anything at that time, and it clips onto a baby's nappy, something that you were selling, and it monitors their breathing, and it alarms if the breathing stops. And it's designed to prevent cot death, or sudden infant death syndrome, which is the leading cause of death up to the age of 1 year in the developed world. And it was a heck of a road to get to the point to actually start selling this product. All the R&D, there were no guarantees, but the long story is that we got it onto the market. We pitched at the couple of big players in South Africa. They weren't really interested, so we thought, okay, now overseas, and we immediately started selling. Europe was, they took it on very well, except after a couple of years, we had their regulatory authority coming to us and saying, you guys are a medical device. You need to register as a medical device and so on.
Right.
So we said, no problem. And we looked at it's called the scope, medical device scope, and it's thousands and thousands of pages. And it took us another 4 years to reach medical device status. So we are fully certified Class 2B medical device in Europe and South Africa, because CE mark supersedes anything in SA. The FDA, which is the American body, they, for some reason, didn't see us as falling within the scope of the FDA. So they said, don't worry, you're not a medical device. So we said, great, we can save about $5 million here. So we skipped FDA certification, and we're selling happily in the States. We were then approached by a very big, the market leaders in the States. They're called Angel Care. I don't know, some of you might have heard of them. And they flew us over to, their boss man's got a huge place at West Palm Beach, and his butler picked us up in his Lamborghini. I mean, it was insane.
And you seeing dollar signs at this point, my boy.
And I thought, here we go.
You're thinking,
this is it. Anyway, he wined and dined us and took us on his boat that looks like one of those. And I mean, it was amazing. And at the end of the trip, he made us some pathetic offer. And on the way back on the flight, we said, no ways. I think we've got the attention of the big guys. I think we can really make this work internationally. So we did, and we sold, we're in 60 countries now.
60.
60.
Wow.
And we reached the point about 5 years ago. I kind of identified that, it's such a simple product. It does do something really important, but it's missing a key factor, and that is the ability to really get some insights into your child, their breathing rates, the history, their body. So we went back to the drawing board. We redesigned. We took the previous 6 years of user feedback and all the suggestions, complaints, and we re-engineered them into a next generation product, which is the product now that supports the app. And of course, being connected to the app, we now have the ability for the first time to get information that has never previously been available. Breathing rates, body temperature, body position, and we now interpreting that into sleep quality, hours of sleep, and the various stages of sleep, all visible on your phone. We push that into a very big database, which we are now looking at mining. And of course, in our new device, we've got an infrared thermometer. So we can actually see when a baby's getting sick before the parents know that the baby's getting sick. Yeah, it's incredible.
Are you a doctor? Like, why did you do
no.
this? Yes, a round of applause. Yes. That's important. How do you even,
So
I mean, this guy was just trying to sell something. I kind of get the motivation.
Yeah.
5 years researching this stuff that you hope will work out one day.
Yeah.
Why?
Because I was in 1997 or so, I started getting involved in, I'm an engineer, so I started getting involved in microprocessors, and at that time it was quite new, and I'd look around and look at a product or a problem and see what was currently in place, and kind of say, this is so old school. And I'd write some software, and I'd put something on a board this big, and I'd shrink it down to a 20th of the size, half the price. And I started doing that for a couple of different. I was on my own at that stage. I'd started my own business at that point, and I felt I was in such a good position to take the baby monitors, which were traditionally under mattress types, or the breathing monitors, baby monitors, and to miniaturize them and make them portable for the modern person. Babies don't just sleep in cots. They sleep anywhere, and cot death was quite a big thing. And I'd been through all the patents, and there were a number of patents. A lot of people had tried to achieve it, but I don't think the technology was mature enough at that time, and I'd had enough experience to go, I think I can do this. So I did.
So what's the product?
So
what do I buy, and where do I get it? Say I want to buy one here in Cape Town. What do I?
So in Cape Town, Discam and Takealot and all the online places got them. I think they're in Checkers and a few other places. Yeah. So
how big is the unit? Because those things used to be quite.
No, it's
those
tiny.
baby monitors used to be.
Yeah, no, it's tiny. It's it's about that big.
Right.
Yeah.
And then it connects to your phone.
Yeah, it just clips onto the baby's nappy, connects to your phone. We bring out some new kind of add-on hard piece of hardware which just connect to your home Wi-Fi.
In terms of numbers, can you give us a sense of how big it's become or is becoming?
We've sold about 400,000 units worldwide.
That's not bad, huh? All right, a round of applause once again. Craig, thank you so much for that. Brilliant stuff. Okay, let's move on to Domesli. Berno Porgiter. I remember you guys winning 2 years ago?
2016, yeah.
2016, yeah? Tell us more about Domesli. Well, I certainly know a bit.
Yeah, Domesli started in when I was still in university. So we won the App of the Year in 2016. And from the MTN App of the Year, we went over to Silicon Valley and we raised some more money from there. Came back and expanded in more cities in South Africa. To date, basically, we've created employment for about 1,500 people. But basically, at the core, what Domesli is, as what mentioned before, there's another competitor in the market as well. But we are a platform that connects homeowners to cleaners. And we've been around for about 3 years now. And it started when I was still at university. I couldn't get a job after finishing studying, so at the idea and at the partner I had at the time was like, let's look at what business opportunities there are. And Uber came into the country at that time, and they were a great example about what technology can do in an industry that hasn't really innovated in a long time. At the same time, our cleaner who was working at my mom's place was struggling to get more work opportunities. So the idea was, why can't we use technology to help this cleaner get more work opportunities, and at the same time, why can't we look at innovating in an industry that hasn't really innovated? Obviously, at the time, we didn't really think, that it was such a big idea. We were just playing around with concepts and stuff like that. I was 23 at the time, and it started really where we had a bunch of cleaners who we tried to get opportunities for. And I remember at the time, I didn't have a car, and my partner didn't have a car, and we would have these 5 cleaners, and we would take taxis with them to go to the clients' houses, make sure that they arrive at the place, and innovating and hustling at the core of it. And then after that, we managed to raise some funding, some minute amount of funding. As Simon mentioned, angel investing in South Africa is difficult and very difficult to raise funding. And we got about, I think it was 100,000 rand, the first amount that we got.
Which, of course, at the time sounded like a
it
lot. It
sounds
of money,
like
right?
a lot when you're 23 years old, and and you don't have a job, and you're living off a few hundred rand a week. 100,000 rand is a lot of money, and we were like, yes, let's take it. And after realizing it's not going to get you very far at all. So after that, we tried to raise some more money and more money and more money. After the App of the Year competition in 2016, it really elevated us to the next level.
Great.
And after that, we managed to raise about 15 million rand in funding to expand and grow the app and employ. So we've got a team of about 15 people here in Sea Point, our head office. So we've got a couple of people in Johannesburg. There's about 1,500 cleaners that are employed on the platform.
Is it easy to grow and scale? Is it?
It's very difficult.
Personal service in a way.
It's very difficult. I think at the time as well, technology was coming into the industry when we started. I remember the most difficult thing we struggled with was we built this app for the clients. We were like, okay, we're going to build this app for the cleaners because Uber does it, and Uber gets it working. And we had the first batch of cleaners come in, and none of them had a smartphone. And we were like, we just spent months and months and months developing this app, costs us a lot of money, and not even one cleaner can use it. And it was just about trying to find the next solution. And then we started an SMS system, and we had 20 people SMSing cleaners every day about where to go. And that led on to the next system that we developed and led on. And we're at a point now where you're almost completely automated, and we're chatting about about chatbots and that sort of stuff. And we've started using it for our customer service, chatbots. So we're looking at what we can implement and what we can automate at this time. So we're at a point now where we're looking at growing a little bit more in South Africa and stuff like that.
Tell me about competition. When you innovate and come up with something, and a couple of others that look like you do, how do you respond to that? What's your attitude towards that as a team?
Yeah, we when we started, there was nothing like this in South Africa, or we thought there was nothing like this in South Africa. And I think when you're working in a good industry, and there's opportunity in this industry, there'll always be competitors coming. I remember there were tens of companies that started in this space that actually wanted to stay in this industry. To date, there's only 2, I think, that are still alive. But it's a tough market to be in. We welcome competition almost a little bit because it kind of helps us educate the market. I know when we started, it was such a new concept. How do you get a cleaner, and how do you let this cleaner that you met online into your house? It's so personal, and so, especially in South Africa, where crime rates are so high and stuff like that. So it's almost like we kind of built this industry up together in the last 3 years. Competition is going to be there. It's always going to be there, but you've got to see it from a positive viewpoint as well.
And that it grows the category, I guess.
Exactly. I mean, word of mouth spreads, and have you heard about this company? And what about, have you tried out this company?
Yeah.
And educating the market, which means that we didn't have to spend hundreds of thousands of rands on marketing because the market was kind of getting aware of what was out.
Great stuff. Great stuff. A round of applause for all of our innovators on stage.